Welcome to the RD2BE podcast. Each week we sit down with a different registered dietitian nutritionist to showcase the diversity of opportunity in the dietetics profession. Our aim is to dismantle the notion that there is a traditional career path. I'm Carl Barnes, the registered dietitian behind the scenes of RD2BE.
And I am Jenna Warnock, the RD2BE host. Our RD guests share their stories, career paths, and advice to help students like us succeed in the profession. Welcome back to another week of the RD2BE podcast. I'm your host, Jenna, and this week we're super excited to feature a wonderful other Jenna in the dietetics world, and she has a wonderful, great background in kind of really truly choosing your own path in dietetics, making it your own, and really being a good driver at doing what you want, doing it what you love, making the most of situations. And so we're going to be sitting down with Dr. Jenna Stedman. She's the Director of Cognitive Performance Nutrition for Master Nutrition Lab, which is the business that she owns. And she also holds, again, a doctorate in clinical nutrition and is a certified specialist in sports dietetics. And so Jenna, Dr. Stedman, thank you so much for joining us. And we're super excited to talk with you about your path, all things you've learned, good things like that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so I always like to start off with asking people what first inspired them to pursue a career in dietetics, so where it all began.
Oh, it all began. I came from a very health conscious family to start with. So I think at some level, I always knew I was going to be somewhere in healthcare. I didn't quite know where that was going to be. But I think most of us, in high school watching Grey's Anatomy and things like that, I was like, I'm going to be a surgeon. And that dream died real fast. But no, in high school, I was a rower and swimmer, and I was by no means the fastest person on the team, but I absolutely loved it. And I wanted kind of to stay in the sports world. And so when I got to college, I did get to row for a little bit, which was wonderful. But again, not being the fastest one on the team there, that career ended quite quickly. I didn't earn a scholarship, anything like that. I ended up transferring back to my much more affordable state school, which was wonderful. And in that kind of transition, I kind of thought to myself, okay, like how do I stay within the sports world? And you kind of find yourself within the world of sports medicine. And in that, I'm looking at like PT, AT, OT, like all of these other like very cool specialties. And I found myself thinking like, I don't really like touching strangers. So I'm like, I don't think PT is going to work very well for me. Like I can't be a sports med doc. Like I absolutely cannot do any of that stuff. So in that I was like, okay, well, I can do like sports psych or nutrition. And I took my first nutrition class and absolutely loved it. I could not get enough of it. And I just started reading everything I could get my hands on. I found, Nancy Clark's book and Monique Ryan's books, and I really just couldn't get enough of it. I still have them today. They're like dog-eared and written all over, and I'm not nice to my books. They have notes all over them. They're very well loved. But in that process too, I was, switching majors, switching schools. And I wanted to find kind of that really anything that could kind of help me catch up and anything could give me kind of that cognitive edge. And I came across this study that was talking about how eating blueberries before tests in school helped improve test scores. So since then, I'm like gobbling like pints of blueberries before all of my tests. And I swear to this day, it worked. It really did. There were certain classes like I was able to get like very high scores in, which I really was not. I've always been very much a B student. Like I'm doing sports, I'm working, I'm in school. Like I've never been able to be the straight A student that I always dreamed of. But I really felt like that was my magic, was eating blueberries before tests. So it kind of planted that seed a little bit, right? That like what we're eating, right, not only is affecting and improving our physical performance, which was the sports world that I knew I wanted to be part of, but also too our cognition. And so I went on to tell you the whole story. I went on to finally, become a dietitian and work for the military. And in that process, I really started to see more and more this need for cognitive nutrition. And so in that, I really just found my love for nutrition, which was great.
Well, I'm glad that when it came to discovering your career path, you were really in tune with knowing, okay, healthcare, and then really fleshing out what you wanted to dive deeper into based off of knowing, okay, I don't want to touch strangers, I want to go more into this, and then seeing how cognition also played a role in nutrition and how those little things built up to where you are today. And so when it comes to looking back on your educational journey, what experiences during your like training, whether it's from your distance dietetic internship or your undergraduate involvement, the things that you did that were most influential in shaping your career path?
Oh man. I mean, during my undergrad at least, like any chance I got to make whatever the project or assignment or something was sports related, they were like, go for it. Like, absolutely. Like, you're interested in this, like, explore it. They really didn't set a lot of limitations, which was really, really very helpful. And I think from what I hear from other colleagues, a lot of undergrads, they try to really help you get that, very generalized, like to be fair, like that's a good thing still, but like, very generalized undergrad so that you don't specialize too early or anything like that. And there's value in kind of both of those, but I really, really enjoyed the fact that they allowed me to really explore that interest right from the start, which was very cool. And then throughout my internship, actually did the internship in a very cool way. So well, I didn't get accepted the first time or the second time. So like anyone out there who is not getting accepted, like there is always hope. You will be a dietitian, I promise. But on my third try, I got a distance dietetic internship. So before the master's was required, after undergrad, I went and got my master's. And I think that really did help me finally get my internship because I think I really needed a little bit more before I was able to do that, and they recognized that. But when I got my internship, it was a distance program, so I got to design the whole program myself, which was very cool. And I really lucked out that in my hometown, up in New Hampshire, well, we're on the border, right? It's like New Hampshire, Vermont, right in the middle of the Upper Valley. The White River Junction VA Medical Center, I had emailed them on a whim and be like, hey, can I do my clinical rotation with you guys? And they were like, absolutely, come on down. Like, this will be great. And so I met their dietetic team. And they were like, you know what? You could also do food service and community and elective here if you wanted to. So I ended up doing a like what coveted, right? VA internship just by asking nicely, which was such a cool thing. And they, again, were just some of the most incredible teachers I think I've ever had. And they really kind of allowed me to run with whatever I was really excited about. And so while I didn't get to do as much sports there, it really solidified my love for clinical. And I did when I passed my exam and became a dietitian that day, I was looking for more of a like I don't know. I guess I don't really know what I was looking for. But I found this love for clinical and this love for sports. And I wanted to either find a way to combine them a little bit more than I thought sports was, which I was wrong. Sports is very clinical. Or like just work clinical and then transition into sports. Like it gave me kind of this great additional experience that I thought I wasn't going to like. I had this idea of like what I wanted everything to be like, and going into that internship, I got to do so many other things, and they really helped me kind of find a love for all of it except for food service. I couldn't love food service, but I did it with a smile on my face because it's still a great learning experience. But yeah, I had some of just the absolute best teachers coming out of that. It was really, really a great experience.
No, yeah, and that sounds like the kind of common themes that I hear is, taking advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you, like in undergrad. And we even hear this in previous podcast recordings when it comes to professional development and like curating your resume or your CV, how you can have class projects or have projects that you're already doing tailored to your interests to show like further enrichment where it's like, oh, if you're applying for a sports job or a sports RD job and you have this MNT presentation where it can be on any sort of like clinical condition possible, you could do like anemia in runners, or things like
Yeah.
that. You can easily make not easily, that's like thrown out there, but you can
Yeah.
make projects and things like that tailored to what your interests are, but
Yeah.
also having that balance of keeping an open mind where
Hmm.
you didn't know that you would like clinical and you were just like, hey, going off on a whim, seeing what would happen from that, and again making the most of the situation, and it really turning into that coveted VA dietetic internship that was a really great learning experience, like with what you said. So like taking advantage of the opportunities that are there while keeping an open mind, and then even with food service, like I think no matter what opportunity you have, putting a smile on your face and just having the best attitude, because I truly believe like good attitudes, you'll have a good outcome no matter how like maybe crappy the experience is, because you at least fully put in your all.
Yeah,
And you'll still be able to get positives out of it, which is exactly like you said. And
absolutely.
and is there anything before I kind of segue in? I get really, really excited. And so sometimes I barrel roll as well. So
No, 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 go ahead. You're good.
okay, cool. And so then kind of going more into, after you graduate from the dietetic internship and getting all those great learning experiences, one thing that you mentioned, like working within the government, is working alongside with the National Guard. And so government work is something when it comes to, being either a contractor or wanting to get into more of a lucrative space within dietetics, wanting to try and branch out, try something new outside of like working in a hospital, working in food service, community outreach, things like that. What led you to that job opportunity and what was that transition into that realm like?
I kind of happened by accident. So I I was joking with you earlier that I had really bad luck, like my whole career, right? I didn't find dietetics till my sophomore year of college. I didn't get my internship right away. Like all these things kept happening to me, and it really felt like I was never going to be a dietitian. And it finally happens. You feel like it's like this amazing aha moment. I remember coming home from my exam that day and be like, oh, now I'm a dietitian. Like I update my resume and LinkedIn and all the things. And I'm like, no, now I have to go be a dietitian. Like I get to find a job now. So I had this whole career ahead of me. And that's what's something I keep telling like my students and interns now is like, the world of performance, like just that word itself, is so huge. Like there's college sports of every level, there's semi-professional and professional, there's Olympic, and then there's this whole world of tactical. You can do all of it private practice or with someone like it's just there's so many things that you can do. There's endurance sport, like all of these like obstacle races, esport. I can't even list it all. It's so exciting, like the amount of things that you can do within the world of performance. But in that moment, when I'm sitting there looking at my resume that now says MSRD on it, I'm like, well, I think I just apply for college sports now. I think like that was the only thing that came to my mind. No one until this point had really said, like, the world of performance is big. Go find something that's really exciting. Like, I only knew the world of college sports because I got to experience it for like 1 minute. So that's what I thought I really like. I thought was the sports world that I wanted to do. And so I had no business applying to some. I'm applying to like Clemson and like UW's, like all these huge places that are like looking for sports dietitians. I had no experience. I had no business. And of course, I didn't get any of them. I mean, like it's perfectly fine because I had no business applying to some of these places. But in that job search, probably in like the next couple days, I stumble upon, I forget even where it was posted online. The Indiana National Guard was looking for a performance dietitian for their H2F team, essentially. It's their holistic health and fitness team. And I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about the military. Like my grandfathers were in the military, but like they don't really tell a lot of stories. Like I didn't know anything about this. But the way they described the role was very, very much sports, very much performance. So it was like, I was like, I could do this. I could certainly do it. Um, and I applied and I flew out and I got it and it was very exciting. And I'm pretty sure the first month on the job, someone was joking with me and they were like, yeah, we hired you because you were the only one who applied. And it's probably true. It's probably true, honestly. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I got hired because I was the only one who applied. But I got it. And so that was my first step into sports. And so I get there and they give me an office and like, go be our dietitian now. I'm like, oh crap. Oh boy. So in that first couple weeks, I'm learning, a lot, the service members are learning, like no one's really knowing kind of what to expect from me. And I'm listening to every podcast I can get my hands on, reading all the books. Like I'm trying to find as many kind of helpful pieces as possible. And something that was probably the most helpful piece of information from that was said in a podcast was Diana Wynn, who's an incredible dietitian. She said, working for the military is like learning to fly the plane while it's in the air. Right? Because like any other sport, like you're suddenly the basketball dietitian, you're suddenly Olympic like you can go watch and learn about that sport. We can't watch our military. I mean, because I worked for the military for like 5 years, there were even times like I would be prepping people for a deployment and I don't know what they're doing. Like I obviously like I don't know what they're doing or sometimes even where they're going. And I come back and I'm like, well, how was it? Was it great? They were like, well, I can't tell you that. It was fine. But yeah, I mean that step into tactical performance kind of happened by accident, but I'm also at the same time like so thankful that it did because I don't think I would have applied or ever even like stepped into that if I had gotten something in collegiate. So I'm glad that it happened by accident because I really, really loved that position. It was a lot of fun working there.
No, yeah, and that sounds like a lot of fun. And for me, selfishly, that is a niche of like nutrition and dietetics that I'm very interested in because similar to you, it's like clinical is super interesting, but so is performance. And then how do you even find that overlappage in that Venn diagram of where it goes? And like for me, my family, it's like lots of prior military. I was surrounded in it my whole life, moved around. My dad was Army, Air Force,
Nice. So
all of the
you
above.
would probably be better for this role than I was.
No, but you were there
You
for
at
five
least
years
know.
and
No,
yeah.
you figure it out. It's fine.
Oh, no, exactly. Yeah. And I think really it just ties back into having that open mind too, where I'm glad that you also emphasize, hey, sports dietetics is not like or performance, exactly. It's not just sports or
Mhm.
like working at a college. It is
Yeah.
performance with the National Guard and not just National Guard. It could be active duty, it could be retirees at a VA
Yeah.
hospital, it could be so many different uh populations when it comes to performance, which is like amazing. And when it kind of comes to like following you throughout your career path and your development, you do hold like a doctorate in clinical nutrition. And so I think it's good that you provided that groundwork of, well, yes, and really interested in sports, really interested in performance. How do I marry it with like clinical nutrition? And so it does definitely make sense, to dive into maybe a DCN as an avenue. But what motivated you to actually take that leap and to choose a DCN and make it kind of mold into everything?
I will. So my original reasoning is actually really dumb. As I grew as a human, like then I learned why this was actually a good idea to do. No, originally when I was in high school, watching TV and stuff, I was so inspired by all of these amazing female characters. So you look at like X-Files, like Dr. Dana Scully, like you see Doctor in front of all these incredible women, and I'm like, that's got to be me. I have to do that. Like they have, I know it's TV and this is really dumb, but I was so inspired by so many of these shows. I grew up like watching Stargate and like all of these shows. So like I saw all these amazing characters. I'm like, I got to be a doctor too. Like I have to do this. This sounds so cool. And I know it's pretend, but it's whatever. So originally that was why I had to be Dr. Jenna Stedman. I just had to make that happen at some point in my life. And so originally, when I finally kind of got settled a little bit in Indiana, I started looking at PhD programs and kind of what that entails and what you can really do with it. And it seemed really to be that, well, to be fair, you can kind of do anything with anything. Like PhDs do kind of, they work in whatever fields they want. And they do amazing things. But I saw a lot of PhDs in either a more academic or more research kind of setting. And while that was really interesting to me, I felt like I would miss the hands-on stuff of like working one-on-one people and having that very kind of practical application of everything. Because those were some of my favorite classes in school. And so still, I'm kind of looking around and I think I must have been looking at Kansas's PhD or something, and it had popped up at the like right next to it, like DCN, and I'd never heard of this. And I'm reading about it. I'm like, oh no, this is exactly what I want. This is the perfect marriage of like, let's do some very advanced clinical work, but also stay practical to the sense that like we're going to be utilizing it. And so I applied and got in, which was incredible. But like, and I know I'm completely biased because I've only done Kansas University Medical Center's program, but I cannot say enough good things about their program. Their staff is incredible. The program itself is amazing. All of the classes, I think, were just so perfectly designed to support someone when they graduate and you have DCN behind your name. Like, I think it was so excellent. I think the two opportunities that I loved the most in this program actually ended up happening in the last. So it's a 3-year program, and in the last year you do your research and residency. So I used my residency hours to create a course, a tactical nutrition course for Norwich University. And I got to work with Rachel Prajednik. I don't know if anyone, she is not a dietitian, but she's like a huge research nutrition scientist. Absolutely brilliant. So I got to learn under her, which was the coolest thing ever. And then I did my research. We found a like a nutrition knowledge assessment, like a sports knowledge assessment that was already pre-validated. So I didn't have to go through that process a little bit. It was a little bit cheating, but I did that. So I used someone else's survey, and we were trying to look at the knowledge kind of level, right? The knowledge scores of cadets versus their ACFT score, which now I think by the time this comes out, it will be the AFT. They're changing it again, for better or worse. But at the time, the ACFT, which is the Army Combat Fitness Test, which is the physical assessment that everyone does, or at least like Army and those guys do. So looking to see if there was any kind of correlation, right? Any association between how much we know about nutrition and how well we're performing on ACFT, which was very exciting. And as you know, the world of research, we are still trying to publish it. So, I've graduated over a year ago. It's coming out, I promise. I did real research. It's coming. But I mean, those were two of the probably the coolest experiences that I have had, because I've been trying to kind of get into this world of teaching and academia, but also still doing very much practical, hands-on, regular dietitian stuff too. I want to just kind of do everything. So it was that program was just the very best fit for me. It was very cool. So if anyone is looking for a PhD at GCN, go to Kansas, they're the best. I'm
Heck yeah.
it's
No,
not fair.
no, we love hearing personal anecdotes and personal stories and things like that. And that also gives me some tidbits of information where we do feature programs. And for me, if anything, I'm if I haven't featured them before, then I'll definitely feature them now. And also, I think as far as, again, similar to what you did in undergrad, taking your interests and putting it and making it fit for what worked for you and really having it pay off, which is really, really great. And I absolutely agree. When it comes to publishing anything, it takes 1 to 5 business years.
Yes, absolutely.
It is.
Absolutely, it does. It's coming, I promise. But oh my God, I can't say enough about the staff there. They're just some of the absolutely most brilliant people. And they just care so much about making this program so successful for each individual student. So a lot of us come in, right? Well, I mean, you have to be a dietitian for a while to be able to even apply, but we come in with our specialty. We're not brand new, we've been in the field for a while. We know what we're doing a little bit. And you come in knowing what you want to make of this program. And so when I came in being very focused on performance and still a little bit interested in cognition and test scores and things like that, they were great, let's do it. Let's see what we can do here. So it was very cool to be, taught and structured in a way that prepared me for, having this degree, but at the same time being allowed to really kind of explore the things that I wanted to learn more about. It's very cool.
Yeah, that sounds super, super cool. And when it comes to kind of having that really good, strong educational background experience with the National Guard, how did that kind of lead you now to the business that you run today? Because I realized as when I was going through the questions, I was so excited about all the things that you were doing, where I was let me pick her brain and ask all of these super in-depth things. But I'm also okay, let's finish the story of then how did you get to
I know.
where you are
And
now?
then that's the thing. I love hearing dietitian stories. Another podcast I have to mention, it's Sports RD Snippets. I love that, because hearing every dietitian story, I wish I had found that as a student, or maybe if it had existed as I was a student 100 years ago, if it had existed when I was a student, because I would have loved hearing that there is not one way to become a dietitian. There are, and I think All Access Dietetics posted about this once. They were here's 19 or 15 or something different pathways, right? It doesn't depending on what your undergrad was or what time you're switching careers. There are so many different ways to be a dietitian. And the bottom line is you can do it. You can absolutely do it. Might take longer. Mine took longer, but that's okay.
No, yeah, because then you got to this super cool business that you run. And
oh yeah, my business.
No, you're so good. You're so, so good. Yeah. And so kind of after you did 5 years of the National Guard, kind of then how did that matriculate into where you are now sitting in this podcast?
Yeah. So I had always told myself I will never run a private practice because I don't want to be business Jenna. I want to be Dr. Stedman. Like I just want to be the dietitian. I do not want to learn how to do all of the behind the scenes business crap that you have to learn. Like we don't learn that in school. I see some dietitians that have MBAs. I'm like, that's perfect. That's a beautiful combination. And I don't have that. So I always told myself like I'm never doing it. I'm always going to work for somebody else. And then let's see. I mean, it originally started because I made this like website-y blog thing in like 2016. And it really was just like, I want to share my knowledge with the world. And I think like one of my friends and my mom read it. It was very successful right off the bat, as everyone's blog is successful on day one. And so I had always had this website kind of like sitting in the background. And every once in a while, I'd like update it or put a new picture on it or like add to the blog or something like that. But I never really did anything with it. And so when I left, so I was at Indiana National Guard for a couple of years, and then we went to the Massachusetts National Guard. So I was in two different states. But at the end of Massachusetts, and we came back, I'm in Indiana now again, came back to Indiana. Um, I really thought to myself, I was like this could be a very cool opportunity to try it. To try and see because I was looking at a lot of positions for like neuronutrition and they just don't exist. And so I'm coming out of the military thinking like there's absolutely a need for this. Like not even in the world of sports, but just everyone has a brain. Like we should all at every life cycle stage, like we should be eating for our brain. And I just felt like nutrition has been so over over advertised by the media as like the key to weight loss, right? And I'm sorry, but like the I don't care what someone's weight is. I really don't. It's the least interesting thing about a human being. I do not care how much you weigh. It's like 5 pounds is not going to make you run faster. We've all learned that story a million times. Like I do not care what someone's weight is. That is not interesting at all. I understand that a lot of people are on that journey, and there are wonderful dietitians that have the expertise to support you in that. But that was not something that I felt like nutrition had been kind of misrepresented a little bit. So I was like, okay, everyone has a brain. It's definitely important. We need to be we need to be fueling in this way. We need to be thinking about not just right. I think also the message of like fuel your body, like that's wonderful, but it gets very much thought of as like physical performance. And while yes, that is important too, cognitive performance plays such a huge role in that. So, I'm spending, the last few years like talking to service members about how they're trying to stay focused during like weapons qualifications or something like that, or they're trying to, remember different things during what was like land nav or something, or like they have to stay up. Like sometimes they have to stay up for very long periods of time. Like I don't like that, but like I have to, help them do it in a safe way. And so we're testing out like caffeine, like all of these things and different carbohydrate cycles and like all of this. And so it really started at me thinking like there's not a lot out there on neuronutrition. There is like we have some good research, but it's not like publicized like it should be. Like this should be what our headlines are. And so in that I was like, okay, well I could test out what having a private practice is really like and see if I can make this successful. And initially it was not. Warn everyone, private practice, I highly recommend. And I've heard so many senior dietitians give this same advice. And I wish I had listened because I'm about to give the same advice, which is if you are interested in building a private practice, build it on the side when you have a paycheck. So when it's not successful at first, you don't panic as much. That's my best business advice, but that's really what I should have done. I always had the website and the blog, but I hadn't monetized anything. I didn't take on any clients. I didn't do anything. And so the first, 6, 8, 9 months were not very successful. I was very much learning how to be, business Jenna, and that was really challenging to like learn a whole new thing that was not food. Like I know how to learn about food. I do not know how to learn about like ROIs, like all these like business things I didn't care about, but now I had to care about. So anyways, and then, business started to grow and I started primarily now I sort of split my business. It's like about half the time I'm working with patients one-on-one. We have, weekly sessions, whatever it may be. I connected with a platform that allows me to take insurance. That was a game changer for me. Um, and that takes about half-ish of my time. It's usually like 15 to 20 or so hours a week. And the other half of my business, my private practice, is kind of all the really fun stuff. It's like, it's like if I want to do some writing, if I want to, be on podcasts, if I want to do other speaking, like I've done like really cool speaking events this year, which has been really fun. Like I just spoke for like a ship-in panel, which was amazing. It was so cool to be part of that. It's kind of like all the other cool stuff, which is really fun. Like some guest speaking and guest lecturing, and then also things that maybe I'm not getting paid for, but I still really like doing. The purpose that I had originally built when I changed my website from just, I think it was jennastedman.com blog or something, when I finally built that into what I thought was going to be a successful business model, was I wanted to build this free lab platform. And it turns out free is not a good business model. So that's another piece of advice for everyone listening. But I had this idea that there were so many people out there, right? And I had gotten this originally from working with the National Guard, right? It was like everyone was so spread out over the state. We were centralized, like they either had to come to us for like bod pod testing or like whatever we were doing, or we had to come to them, but we couldn't bring a lot of these things to them. So I was like, well, what if there was a way to do maybe not everything, but a lot of stuff in a virtual setting? So I had this idea to build out a virtual lab. And so that's what I've sort of done with my website. So if you go to masternutritionlab.com and you click on the bar and scroll down to lab, anyone who goes in there has access to, and I've split it into 3 big sections, is cognitive wellness, cognitive performance, and then cognitive therapeutics. And so you can go through kind of each section of it and you can learn about all of the things that we know so far. I'm updating it constantly. All of these foods that immediately and long term affect our brain health. So we have some like very niche things, which is like, here's what we know about creatine. And then we have some very broad things, which is like the mind diet and Mediterranean diet, and like all of these things. And then I tried to build in these little like calculators. So it's like you can calculate, like you can get like a fiber tally for the day. Like you can add up your water, like things like that. So there's like little things to kind of like play around with in there. It's also filled with like all of my spreadsheets. So if you go in, you're like, I just want to know how many calories to eat, right? You download any app and it's going to tell you like, it's going to spit out one number. Like you need, 1807 calories. And it's like, that's very specific and really annoying. So I built out spreadsheets and spreadsheets that'll give you a range. It'll tell you a protein range. It'll tell you a fiber range. It'll give you all of these things. And you just put in, your information at the top. So this is free for everyone. I tell dietitians too, I'm like, go steal all my stuff. It's for free. It's on the internet. Download all of it. And I do. I mean, people eventually find this stuff, but that was the piece I was most excited about. I know I have to get paid and that's part of the business, but like this was the thing that I was most excited to build because I want everyone to have this, not even like one-stop shop kind of place, but like really a platform that you can customize in a sense your own stuff and kind of get a starting place for like, what do I need to be doing, right? Because it'll kind of tell you like, hey, we need to start thinking about hydration. That's usually like where I start with most of my athletes anyways. Step 1, like, are we doing this? If yes, then we can go to kind of step 2. So it walks you through all of these things. So we're not starting with supplements. That's not the place where we start with nutrition. Like, it's great you got an expensive greens powder. That's lovely. Let's make sure we're eating 3 meals a day or 4 meals a day or whatever it is. Let's make sure we're getting all of our protein before we take some expensive BCAAs or whatever it might be. So I wanted there to be a place for that. And it doesn't look pretty, but it's correct. So I built it and it's okay, but I hope more people find it because I'm really proud of it. It's the free part of my business, but it's probably the thing that I spend the most time on. But yeah, I mean, I'm just not a very good business person. So that's what I did is I built this big free thing.
Yeah, but you did it because of the passion and because you saw a gap and you wanted to fill it. And typically the stuff that you spend the most time on is the stuff that you enjoy the most. And again, it's like similar to what you talked about with food service. Even the parts that you didn't like about the business model, you just slap that smile on it and you just keep going until it's a profitable.
You put on your hairnet in the morning and you go in and get the right scoop label. Like
Exactly.
you
And
just do it. Oh yeah.
no, exactly. And I think it sounds like it's definitely worked out as far as, making it into this business that you wanted it to be. And even though you said, oh, I would never do this, similar to like not knowing if clinical was something you'd be interested in,
Yeah.
once you're into it and you realize like making the most of the stuff that's fun and then, just doing the things you got to do and moving on. Um, and I think this just shows like a great example of finding a gap or kind of leaning into a gap, seeing how you can fill it, and using and tailoring your past experiences and the stuff that you're passionate about to just create this nice wonderful new thing. And for any student that may be interested in kind of pursuing a similar path, or maybe uh, they just don't really know where to start as far as experiences go, in your opinion, do you have or think that there's one type of experience that every aspiring registered dietitian should seek out or try to pursue, like not pursue, but think about doing or exploring so that they can maybe increase the likelihood of landing on, one of the things that you've experienced?
That's a good question. Because, right, like I like throughout college, throughout undergrad, like we're told like everyone has to work clinical. I feel like that was like drilled into our head. Like everyone must do at least 1 year of clinical, like pay your dues, go enjoy that, like, and then like move on to whatever thing you want to do. So I feel like that was what I had always assumed, right? Is like that's the correct way. That is what we have to do. God, one experience though. I mean, I don't know if there's one experience or one job, but I would say finding a mentor that's really close to what you think you might want to do. I know sometimes you're not going to find like the exact person because every dietitian is like, right, we all do things a little bit differently, which is wonderful, but trying to find, I think having not even one sometimes, having a few different, maybe even mentors or just people that you can ask about things, like I think that's probably going to be the most helpful piece because and there's so many different programs that you can connect and like find a mentor of. Honestly, like LinkedIn too. Like just like that's how I found out about you guys. Is like one of my dietitian's friends posted about this and was like, "Hey, was a great experience. I recommend everyone, be a mentor for RD2BE." And I was like, "That sounds. I didn't know this existed. This what a great thing." Um, like even just getting, I mean, connected just on LinkedIn and just seeing, oh, hey, here's a dietitian who is doing, I think, what I want to do. Message them, ask them about them, see if you can even talk one day. Like I tell everyone about like when you're trying to get volunteer experience or even just other, I was like, ask if you can like sit in on a consult once a week or ask if you can, oh my God, help us with social media, please. Like, please, if anyone is listening to this and knows how to do social media, please help me. It's so bad. I had to set my Instagram to private because it's so embarrassing the things that I tried to do to get attention on the internet. It's bad. So absolutely like if you can pitch like a trade too, like you can trade like do our social media and we will mentor you. Like I'm making myself sound really, really old right now, but like I just can't handle the internet. I've never had TikTok. Maybe we should edit them. Like
No,
but no, seriously, like finding a mentor, finding some way to even like trade time with them a little bit and find ways to sort of experience what they're experiencing can be a really great way to even just test out and see if that's what you want to do. I think if I had had that at any point in my education and had spent more time in collegiate, I would have probably convinced myself that that might not have been the dream, for me. Because, I heard, all these big name schools. I mean, wow, wouldn't it be incredible to be, the dietitian for, whoever? Like that's got to be the dream job. And I think, now looking back on the experience I did end up having instead, I don't know if I would have been super happy in collegiate. Not to say that there's anything not to say that there's anything wrong, but like for me personally,
mhm,
and I think vice versa. I think a lot of people, start in other positions and realize like, hey, I want to pivot and do something else.
mhm.
That's the beauty of nutrition as a whole, but performance nutrition too, is there's just so many things that you can do. So finding mentors in that I think is probably the best experience you can get.
Yeah, no, and I think that's such a great plug. And what's really exciting is I think dietetics is also finally leaning on the importance of that, because the academy is trying to completely revamp the mentorship programs that they do have. We have our own mentorship programs, a bunch of there's like an RD mentor there's a bunch of mentorship
Yeah.
programs out there. And I know from my experience with mentorship, I cannot agree enough to that statement, because when you have a person, especially like once kind of years build up, and you can just shoot them a random text of being like,
Yes.
hey, thoughts on this, or shower thought, just being able to spitball things
Yeah.
to a person and have them, judge you appropriately, where, you get to that point of being like, no, that's a stupid idea, but then also
Yeah.
having
Not our best. Let's pivot and try something else.
no,
Yeah.
exactly. But being able to get to that point in the relationship to have that honest communication, and them knowing you to the point of like, okay, me seeing you and me knowing my experience, that is a good, or hey, maybe think about this idea a little bit more. It has been so invaluable to me as far as, deciding to go from direct bachelor's to a PhD, or like, direct, like I
Great
would have,
ideas all around.
yeah, no, exactly. And so it's like those things on paper where you're like, where the heck did that idea come from? It comes from having people to talk to and having people in your corner. And then you have people that are like, well, how the heck do you even start? And I think, there's this misconception where it's, okay, I shoot one cold email, it doesn't work out, I'll never have a mentor.
Yeah.
When it comes to landing a true, genuine connection with someone, it could be, it's almost never the first person that you cold email. You're going to have to keep cold emailing and just kind of keep throwing the fishnet out there to see what sticks, and just not giving up, which, I mean, like, that perseverance really shows.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, you can have those random emails that you shoot out, like with that VA hospital, where it's like, well, there's your whole internship right there. Like, you don't know how small or large that little cold email will be, but you don't knock it until you try it. And so I definitely add on to what you said about mentorship, in the sense of, it is so great, and it is so important to lean into that and leverage it as much as possible, with the understanding of, it's okay if it's not the first, second, third, fourth, 10th person that you try to reach out to, because once it sticks, it is the best thing to have in your corner, literally, for the rest of your career.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah.
Absolutely. And I have the funniest story of that.
Hmm.
So, Heather Kaplan, who is an incredible dietitian, she's one of the co-founders of Lane 8, which is this very cool, like, it's almost like a red support network. And they're doing a lot of other very cool things too. But we met to chat about being part of that, like, I think it was like a month or so ago. But she had said that, anytime she meets with someone, she searches her email to see if like we had chatted at another time. And we did, and I didn't even remember. It was 2018, and I had emailed her again, like out of the blue, being like, "Hey, can you be my preceptor, like for my internship?" And she was super busy at the time. She was like, "I'm so sorry, I just can't take this on." Like, I think she gave me some other names. Like, she was super nice, very helpful. But we were talking about that. I'm like, I don't even remember. I was just blindly emailing any dietitian like name that I could like popped up on LinkedIn. And so I couldn't believe, like, yeah, we had connected at another point in time when we were both right different points in our careers, and now we're connecting again, you know, many years later as big time dietitians now. So it's just so funny how those things end up working out. And it's true to that story, is like, you never really know how years down the road things are going to work out, because like, even so, like, you might start like following someone on social media, and then you might see them at a conference, and you might get to meet them, and like, don't act too starstruck like I do when I meet senior dietitians. I'm like, oh my God, like, this is so exciting to meet you. That's really embarrassing. Don't do that. But like, I mean, we're all on the same team. Like, we're all so excited to be helping in any way that we can. So you never know how some of those connections are gonna work out, which is very cool.
No, yeah, definitely. And I love those types of stories where you really like, again, you don't realize how something in the moment can like matriculate and just grow into something as time goes on. But that's why it's like, similar to everything that we've been talking about throughout this episode, is just, again, having a smile on your face with everything that you do,
Yeah.
because especially when you're maybe doing, and when I've heard this before with other guests, where if they're doing one person did a rotation that they hated like every fiber of their being with, but they were like, you know what, but I faked it till I made it. And that preceptor, again, it's not that they saw that they were faking it, but they saw the perseverance, and
The
that they
effort.
still put,
Yes.
yes, they saw the
Yep.
effort, And that is what got them their next job that was their dream job, was because they knew that the preceptor knew that the dietetic intern at that time, that that was not their interest area and that they knew their other interest area.
Yeah.
And then they're like, I know this person. I see the effort that you're putting in. I know that it translates into the effort that you have put into what you're actually interested in. And it's like,
Oh yeah.
you never know where the effort that you put, what it'll grow into farther down the line. And so I really think, the themes of this episode, it's like taking advantage of every opportunity when it presents itself, really putting your best step forward in everything that you do, even if you don't think it is something that you're interested in doing, because like those types of things led you to getting that DCN and led you to starting your own business and led you to doing all of these super cool things. And so when it comes to like the last thing that I want to end on, and just kind of, I do this with a lot of episodes where it's just maybe final remarks or things that you really want the profession to know, especially those that are going to be leading the profession in the future and that are currently going through school. It can be a rapid fire, it could just be things you wish you knew, things that you really want to end as far as what you'd want a student aspiring to become an RD to know, or that you, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So my favorite piece of advice is about progress, right? Because sometimes, right, living in our own body, we can't always see the progress that we're making. So I tell this to my patients and my athletes, and I tell this to all of my students and interns too, like, if you could trade places with yourself, right, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, like, would you go back? And I've never heard a single person say yes, because absolutely not. You've worked so hard. You've done so many things in the last year, the last two, like, you would not go back. And not even in the sense of like, would you redo it or do it differently, but like, would you go back and undo all of the things that you've done all year? Absolutely not. Like, we are always adapt. Well, that's okay. So that's not a long enough time to actually be evolution, but like, we are always adapting and changing. Like we would never go back. So much more credit for the progress and the steps that you've taken, even if you are not at your goal yet. And I wish I had heard this when I, right, was transferring and didn't know what was coming next. When I was in the nutrition program, thinking like I was behind my classmates and like not accomplishing things at the same rate that they were. Because I was trying to cram 4 years of school into 3 years. So I also don't recommend that. But anyways, and then, I didn't get into like my internship. I wasn't matched the first couple tries. And then even, there was a decent amount of time I was looking for preceptors. Like, I got my internship, but I was like, now I'm never going to get to do it because no, like, I can't find anyone who can be my preceptors. So there have been so many different points in my life where I wish I had heard that, because absolutely not. I would never have backtracked at any point because I had made it that far. So giving yourself a little bit more credit for your progress, I think, is a really important thing to remember at any point in the journey. Even once you're a dietitian and you're in the career, right? You're in it. We never choose to go back.
Absolutely. And I think that definitely plays into just the imposter syndrome that we see in dietetics as well, where we don't give ourselves credit where it's due. And again, I like to call it when you're in the soup. When you're in the soup, you can't see anything that's happening. It's all murky. You're like, what's happening? But sometimes you need to take yourself out of it to look and be like, no, I'm making progress. Things are good. And especially with how hardworking every dietitian is, every aspiring dietitian is, I feel like naturally this profession is giving, and that means that there's plenty of mentors just out there waiting to be your mentor. It's just you sending that cold email. And when it comes to carving your own niche in dietetics, it is waiting out there for you. You just have to keep taking those steps and exploring it and following, I know cheesy, but like following your passion, because again, dietetics is so versatile. And even when you go down to performance nutrition itself, it is so versatile in and of itself. You can go down these rabbit holes. And I think this episode, it really encourages those to keep going down rabbit holes until you find where yours stops. Or not even stops. It's more so like you're comfortable to dig your heels into it and like establish it as your own thing. And so thank you so much for spending the time to talk about all the wonderful things that you've kind of made the most of in dietetics, how you got to really combining clinical with performance, how your past work experiences led you to having your own business, and still, even though, saying, oh, I'd never do clinical, never do a business, having all those things still work out.
doing it. We're doing all of it.
Yeah, and that's the
Oh
thing,
yeah.
is like always having an open mind. But thank you so much for sharing your story, and I'll also include the link to your website and LinkedIn's, all that good stuff, so if people are interested in learning even more about you, helping you out with social media, things
Please.
like that, we will get you covered. And
I
so
don't
yeah.
even have one. It's so bad. Oh my goodness. But no, really, the LinkedIn is the best place to
Mhm.
connect with me because that I actually get notifications with that. If you try to like find me on Instagram, like you're not going to find me anywhere else.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This is wonderful.